So I'd first like to welcome you all to UCLA. UCLA was founded in 1919, so 105 years ago. It is the second oldest school in the UC system, and our campus spans 419 acres. UCLA offers 337 undergraduate and graduate degree programs, and we have about 31,600 undergraduate students here on campus. And so we're here today at CNSI. So the CNSI is one of Governor Gray Davis's Institutes for Science and Innovation here at UCLA. It was initially established in 2001 as an engine for innovation based on the belief that defining technologies of the 21st century will arise from understanding and constructing functional nanosystems through controlled integration of nanoscale components. And so our mission here is to be a world-leading nexus of research, education, and translational activities by engaging in scientific discovery that fuels innovation and impacts society. So CNSI Education, that's our team here. CNSI is technically a department at UCLA, but we're not a degree granting department. And instead, we're this interdisciplinary hub for research, technology, education, and entrepreneurship. So our education team is led by our faculty director, Professor Sarah Tolbert. Our director of education is Dr. Rita Blake. She will be here asking you the tough questions today. I'm your education manager, Dr. Shailene Tanimoto, and our education program coordinator is Dr. Elaine Morita. So we run various programs, including professional development workshops for teachers throughout the academic year. We run a Nanovation competition, so similar to what your students are doing today, we run a program like this for 6th through 12th graders during the academic year. We also participate in public outreach, demos, and events. And then we have our summer session programs for high school students, which is what you all are here for today. And so our Applications of Nanoscience course is a 2-week summer program for rising sophomore and to graduating senior high school students from around the world. This year we had 47 students enrolled in this college-level science course on nanoscience and entrepreneurship. So your students have learned from a team of UCLA STEM graduate students, staff and professors, and they received tours of our state-of-the-art facilities here at CNSI. And so during week 1, the students participated in interactive and engaging skills workshops. Those are here on our left. So we talked about finding an idea, assessing it, executing, analyzing, and sharing it. And then in the afternoon, the students performed these nanoscience experiments over in Young Hall, which is our chemistry building on campus in our undergraduate teaching labs. And so they performed experiments related to nanoscale control of wetting, biopolymers, plasmonic nanoparticles, emulsions and microfluidics, and biotoxicity. And so this week, the students worked in teams of 5 to 6 to design a company and a product based on the nanoscience experiments and principles that were presented in week 1. So I was taking pictures throughout our course this year, and so these are some of the pictures of our students participating in the workshops and in the labs over in Young Hall. So this week the teams had an initial pitch on Monday for a product and outlined how they would prototype their product into proof of concept experiment. And then we all gathered the resources for these students to perform experiments, and then the teams worked under the guidance of their graduate student mentors to design and perform nanoscience experiments for their product. So then they also worked in their team to prepare a business plan and a business pitch, which is this final presentation that you're going to see, and so they'll share those with you today. So we had some learning objectives for this class. So we have our skills in science and entrepreneurship. And hopefully, parents, you can ask your students some of these questions, and they would be able to answer for you about nanoscience, about being a scientist, and about being an entrepreneur. But we also wanted to teach them these skills in life, so skills that will translate beyond the scientific discipline. So things like having a growth mindset, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, curiosity, problem solving, and reflection and introspection. So they learned a lot of amazing things, but we also made sure to have a lot of fun. So last week we had a campus scavenger hunt for the students. And so we had them divide into 10 different teams. Oh, I'm sorry. Some of those are upside down. So they had various locations on campus that they were supposed to find and visit and take a selfie there. Okay, so we had a lot of amazing people help to make this happen. And so I'd like to just take a moment to thank some people. So this, of course, are our applications of nanoscience instructors. So we have Kat, Caitlin, Alex, Cara, and Dima. They're all here in the front row. You will also be hearing tough questions from them today. We'd also like to thank our resident assistants, Kylie and Emma. They are UCLA undergraduates. Well, technically, they just graduated this past spring. Yay! They are chemistry undergraduate students who have helped us. They are lab assistants, but they are also RAs for this program. And so for the 20 students that were housed in the dorms, they were living with them in the dorms for 2 weeks. So we just want to thank them as well. And then we had a lot of technology center staff and entrepreneurship advisors help us this week. So Nikki Lynn and Emily Brown from our Magnify startup incubator here at CNSI, Dr. Rita Blake, of course, Dr. Patricia McNeil, who is the CEO of Westwood Aerogel. She came to give us a lecture, guest lecture this past week. And then our technology center staff who gave students a tour of our different technology centers, the ALMS, EICN, NPC, and the clean room. Okay, and then we have a bit more staff, so audio, visual, IT, digital communications. So we've got our communications team back in the booth helping us today. Our events manager, Mitch, he's helped us with all the setup and cleanup, and all these work study students as well are helping us get all the materials that we need. So it takes a whole team to put this program together. So just want to do a big thank you to everybody for helping us these past 2 weeks. Okay, so now it's time for the main event. So these students are going to present an innovative product idea enabled by nanoscience concepts they learned this week. They will have 8 minutes for their presentation and 5 minutes for questions from the audience. So I'm looking at you, parents, looking at you. We need some questions from the audience. There is no stupid question, okay? You guys did not do the nanoscience experiments that your students did last week. You can ask about that. They are presenting products that will be used by the public. And so you are the public. So if you have questions about this product, all of those questions are valid. So we will be looking to our audience, our parents first, and students. You can also ask questions as well. Our parents and students first, and you guys can ask the easy, nice questions. And if you don't ask the easy, nice questions, you're going to get some tougher questions from our instructors here, okay? So I need a lot of audience participation today. So this is our presentation order. You'll notice that classic LA thing, we're a little bit late all the time. There's traffic on the way from me going from the lobby here to the auditorium, so that's why we're late today. So we're going to try to stick to this order as much as possible, and hopefully we'll end by like 1:45. We'll take a short break in the middle so we can stretch our legs, get some water and whatnot. Okay, so let us get started here with our first group. So be dry.
Hello. All right, sorry. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. So our team welcomes Binovation's first and initial pitch for B-Dry, our innovative, biodegradable, and super hydrophobic spray. So let's just start with a general question. So who here has gardened before? Just raise your hand. Yeah, so that's quite a few of you guys. So if you know, you definitely know the struggles of having a few plants die. So here's another question, right? What if I told you that almost a fifth of today's crops aren't able to reach your nearby superstores and grocery stores? So just from fungal diseases alone, 10 to 23% of crops aren't suitable for human consumption. That's an $11.5 billion loss for the USA. And this massive loss doesn't just affect farmers, it ripples throughout the entire economy. Families see higher grocery bills while farmers struggle to stay afloat. And one of the major contributors to this large percentage is the presence of water on leaves, and which that creates ideal conditions for fungal growth and disease spread. For instance, crops like tomatoes, cucumbers, and lettuce are particularly susceptible to water-induced fungal diseases. Moisture not only supports the growth of fungal spores, but also disrupts the defense mechanisms of the plants, making them more vulnerable to disease. This causes leaf tissue destruction and lesions, which can eventually also destroy crops. This results in significant crop losses and impacts the overall yield and quality of the produce, a problem that can detrimentally harm both producers and consumers like us. And this is where B-Dry comes into place.
So B-Dry is a super hydrophobic spray designed specifically for plants. It combats both agricultural problems as well as the limitations of current hydrophobic solutions by offering a natural, bio-friendly alternative that is both effective and versatile. It addresses the issue of toxicity and high production costs, making it suitable for a wide range of applications from machinery and fabrics to biological uses. B-Dry not only provides superior hydrophobic properties, but also ensures long-term safety and sustainability. Unlike synthetic options, B-Dry is derived from eco-friendly materials that are safe for the environment and biocompatible. Beeswax, the leading name of our product, has a hydrophobicity of around 110 degrees. These ingredients are all edible, also meaning they combine to be a biodegradable solution. Here we can see 6 commonly used ingredients that are found in hydrophobic solutions. However, 3 out of these 6 ingredients have cytotoxic effects on cells, which can potentially cause critical unhealthy effects for prolonged application. Given these significant concerns, it's clear that finding safer natural alternatives for hydrophobic solutions is not only desirable, but essential for suitable applications. B-Dry offers a safe, natural solution without compromising on performance.
Our proof of concept experiment, we decided to use a 10:1 ratio of jojoba oil to melted beeswax. Although beeswax carry a much higher hydrophobicity than jojoba oil acts as an agent to better liquefy it into a sprayable liquid. By mixing the two together, we can create a higher solidification point as beeswax melting point is 63 degrees Celsius. However, we need a way to mix both oil and melted beeswax. Twin 20, an emulsifier, helps create a stable and homogeneous solution. After putting Twin 20 into a solution, we use an ultrasonicator to help break down our solution into nanoparticles, which helps to create a layer that is uniformly distributed and highly effective in repelling water. The nanoparticle formation increases the surface area, enhancing the hydrophobic properties and ensuring a consistent application when sprayed. The control variable on the left is a glass surface with no solution or layering of any kind, while bee-spray solution on the right contains the beeswax and jojoba oil solution. We're measuring its hydrophobicity with its contact angle, which is the angle between the liquid and a solid surface. Greater contact angle means greater hydrophobicity. Although for the first one, we didn't refine the solution into nanoparticles. It revealed a contact angle of 105 degrees, while the control contact angle was 80. This showed that even without the additional processing, our solution significantly enhances the hydrophobic properties of the surface. The one at the end, however, is with the ultrasonication, which sees huge improvement, jumping from 105 to 120 degrees. Here, we can visualize the impact of beeswax solution and its hydrophobicity. Although superhydrophobicity is considered over 150 degrees, this simple proof of concept experiment demonstrates our approach is effective in enhancing hydrophobic properties, further so with the use of nanoscience.
Now onto our market analysis. Currently, there aren't any hydrophobic sprays designed just for plants. Additionally, most existing sprays are synthetic, which raise costs to the amount that make it hard to allow for everyday use, with price range from 50 cents to $2 per milliliter. However, for our initial proof of concept experiment and ratio, we found that our solution range around 10 cents per milliliter. This market is relatively developing with little competition, which means that we are the first of the kind to make organic super hydrophobic spray. To demonstrate the versatility of beach dry, we also applied to another ongoing problem related to the animals. Dogs are prone to wet feather syndrome, a condition where their feathers lose their waterproofing ability, which can lead to hypothermia and even death. By applying our hydrophobic spray, we can help the waterproof integrity of their feathers, ensuring the darts remain buoyant and safe. This application highlights bee dry's potential not only in plant protection, but also in enhance the health and the well-being in animals.
This leads us to a plan and how we approach to implement our product. In year 1, we will refine the B-Drive formula, hire full-time scientists, and conduct field tests to validate effectiveness. By quarter 2, we'll establish our manufacturing setup, create a website, initiate marketing campaigns, and introduce B-Drive to retail markets, spending $670,000 overall, mostly on salaries. In year 2, we aim to expand our market reach and establish a distribution network by participating in agricultural events. We will focus on product improvement and based on market feedback, the customer support services with an expected spending of $1 million. In year 3, we will focus on establishing market leadership by making more partnerships with farming companies. We aim to spend $1.6 million. Year 3 is where we will move from retail markets to commercial selling, opening markets to both, where we can start making an impact on damaged yields. To protect the intellectual property of B-Dry, we plan to secure both international and domestic patents. For the utility of our hydrophobic spray, we will file a patent that covers the unique formula, also copyrighting the logo.
Ultimately, our ask is $750,000 for 20% of our company. This investment will allow us to grow, expand our reach, and bring B-Dry to a broader audience, transforming the market. That's all. Thank you for joining us in B-Dry's initial pitch, and we would love to work with you as an investor in the future. Thank you.
All right, questions from our audience, including students, mostly students and parents. I will sit in the awkward silence and stare you down. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Are there any specific plants that your product cannot be used on?
So, bee spray is more specifically designed towards crop plants. So that means that like plants in like moist areas such as swamps and lily pads, those already have somewhat of a hydrophobic coating, which doesn't need any more protection. But since most crops like tomatoes, lettuce, and potatoes don't have as much as a strong hydrophobic coating, that's what requires bee dry.
Other questions?
Hello, that was a very good presentation. I would like to. Is my mic working? Okay. I would like to ask a question. So I know that plants, especially the leaf parts of the plants, have many pores on them that allow it to receive and expel materials. How would B-Dry affect the capability of those pores?
The pores are mostly on the bottom part of the leaves, and our spray is designed to cover the upper part of the leaf where mostly the water drops form. So it doesn't really affect the plants as much.
And to further answer your question, you were talking about how the layer affects the actual like photosynthesis and cellular respiration of the plants. So they already have somewhat of a wax coating on them, but it's kind of like asking like bee dry is already somewhat similar to that wax, as it is already transparent, so it can still absorb and receive light and still perform photosynthesis.
Okay, I have a question too. Very good presentation. I noticed that you claim that your product is all natural, and one of the ingredients that you included is called Tween 20. So, do you know if it is a natural ingredient? What is it derived from? Is it some kind of plant or?
Yes, 2020 is derived from some vegetable and fruits, and it's food safe and naturally derived.
Okay, cool. I have also another question. Your price of your product is really impressive compared to your competitors, 9 cents compared to $2. So where in your formulation are you saving that money? What makes your product so much more cost effective than the competitors?
I think it's mainly like the stuff that we use. We're only using like a couple of materials and we don't use any of the chemicals. So it's like a lot cheaper to produce compared to our competitors.
And furthermore, synthetically produced materials are significantly more expensive just because it takes more time, efficiency, and like more cost efficient or sorry, costly chemicals. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned that B-dry would be used for agricultural purposes, so I was wondering if you had some sort of idea about how to like spray every plant. Wouldn't that be a long and difficult process?
It's probably like how they spread pesticides on plants. They use like spray heads. They can use the same ones, but with like better spray heads. Because since our product is in nanoparticles, it needs to be spread more evenly.
And to go along with that, some or most of agricultural farms already have somewhat of a plastic base at the ground to cover the soil. So I don't think that the bee dry would actually get to the soil. Rather, it would like contain or like stay around the plants.
What are your thoughts around the effect on insects, both positive, there's good insects and bad insects, if this were applied on a plant?
We haven't tested these on insects or any animals or insects, so we are not actually sure about that, but we don't think there will be any negative effects towards it since it's made of natural ingredients.
How would you be selling the product? Like, would it be in an aerosol can, or would you just be selling the liquid to farmers, or how would that work?
Like first we were to sell to some like kind of the big farm and also like kind of school, because for big farm they have lots of crops, they need to protect their crops. And for school, because like the teachers and parents will care about the students like safe, and also need to make sure that all of the environment near the school be like safe for students, because they must contact with those things, because like it PE class. And also after this we were to sell like for the retail, like for the plantation store, like we can sell those things with the plants, so they can plant, and the people who want to buy some plantations, they can buy both of them together, so it sell like more easier.
And initially, part of our timeline in year one, where we actually complete the research and better, like make the effectiveness better, we plan to sell them in retail stores for 200 milliliters by $16.99, and which then, if we gain enough funding, we can actually start moving towards commercializing the product.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, next group, please.
Okay, hi guys, welcome to our company Emo's business pitch, and we are a company which produce technology of emotion, and we care about pets' life. So to start with, I'm gonna introduce our teammates to everyone. So me as the CEO, and we got CFO Kyle, CSO Reese, and we got researchers Andy and Leo.
Okay, to begin with our presentation, we want to start with the question. Can anyone of you raise your hand if you have a dog? Wow, that's quite a lot. Well, I have a dog too. He needs a certain amount of vitamin each month. This is quite annoying me as he doesn't like the taste of it. I have to spend 1 or more hour to let him finish all the vitamins he needs. It's very inconvenient.
Okay, for the personal experience, we can see that it's really troubling to give a dog medicine or nutrient as they don't know how precious is it, and they really don't like it as they think that it's only taste. It's like a bad taste food, and also the current vitamin are packaged separately. They're expensive and inconvenient. In our product, these problems led to us to think like, what can we do for it, and how can we make it more convenient for the dog owner, plus benefit the dog most efficiently.
So, do dogs really need vitamins? Well, to clarify the importance of vitamins in our product, there's a dietary requirement for vitamin D in dogs. And also, all vitamins at some point in development can be used as a limiting nutrient, which means that there needs an outer source for the dogs to get these vitamins. Also, vitamins evolved to serve unique and complex roles as cofactors, as signalizing agents in cells, and also redox agents.
Okay, I'm going to introduce our product, Emosis Vitamins. Our product will be more attractive to pets because of the texture is creamy and with colors. It contains multiple vitamins. It tests to be more effective than other pet supplements.
So there are some problems we're facing to achieve our purpose on the products. So first is, how should we mix the water-soluble vitamins and the oil-soluble vitamins together? And next, how to make the products more appealing to the dogs. And the solution we think to be solved this problem is through emotion. And maybe some of you guys don't know what is emotion. Well, emotion is basically trying to mix two solutions, like one oil-based and one water-based, that are usually not able to mix together, and through the use of emulsifier. And an emulsifier is usually a substance that are amphiphilic, which has one side of hydrophobic side and another side with hydrophilic, which each side grabs the oil side and the water side and combines them together to form a more stabilized structure. So in our experiments, we trying to combine the soil lecithin, which is a type of emulsifier, and oil and water, and the oil just contains vitamin in it, which is good for the dogs. And for the water, there's sodium alginate in it, which is working as a thickening agent that helps our product to be more like a creamy structure. And the first result we got from the experiment, like the product is more like a liquids, like things like milky stuffs, but which is not really achieve our goals. So in in order to control the form of our products, we trying to control the concentration of the emulsifier, which we increase the concentration of soil lecithin from 0.02 grams per liter to 0.65 grams per liter. And as a result, it turns to what we want. Is like from the left picture, we can see that our products more like a creamy structures. And also, what if some dogs are allergic to soils? In order to solve this kind of problem, we also try to mix the oil and water with different type of emulsifier. In this case, it's the sunflower emulsifier, which turns out also another types of products which fits our needs. So from all this experience, we can notice that by changing the types of emulsifier and the concentration and the ratio of oil and water, we could create the best product that fits everyone's needs.
So the outcome is that by adding different stabilizing agent, we can explore different texture and colors. And also the proof of concept that the hydrophobic vitamin and hydrophilic vitamin, they can be emulsified. So that proof our product is actually working. And we can conclude that if a certain type of vitamin can be emulsified, another vitamin can share the same property, can also be add it into the mixture as they share the same properties, so they can be emulsified too.
Okay, so let's talk about the market. The pet vitamin market is rapidly growing due to the main reason is the higher cost of living. Everything's getting more expensive, food, energy. So unfortunately, people don't really want children anymore, and everyone's choosing dogs as the main form as an alternative. So yeah, our population base is growing every day. Additionally, our vitamin product is the first one to be in a cream form. The only other competitor in our sector, they deliver their nutrients through like a chewable tablet, which isn't always really tasty or delectable for dogs. And finally, there is a rampant demand for nutritional supplements for dogs. Like previously stated, these dogs are basically replacing children. So yeah, everyone's treating them like they're children. So our only competitor is Zesty Paws, and as previously stated, they give their nutrients through a solid chewable tablet. That's really ineffective because it's hard to administer, right? The dogs don't really want to eat it, so sometimes you have to be cunning and try to trick them to eat it by mixing it with their food. It's inconvenient and it's not really effective because the nutrients are mixed in with additional carbs to try to make it just like a meal substitute. Yeah. Finally, our IPs and business model. We're going to be filing design patents for our containers. Yeah, as you can see, we have a head on the top of the container, so this will like separate us from our competitors. Cause oh look, there's a dog. That's us. We're also gonna file a utility patent for our formula, so no one can copy us, and then trademark logo and name. So our market, well, our selling is mostly gonna be online because, as you can see, most of the stuff happens at like PetSmart or Smart and Final, where most of the sales are physical. So we'd like to focus selling through online because that will make us different from everyone else and it will build our image that we're really convenient and easy to access. So in 3 years, we expect we can capture around 30 to 50% of the market because really there's only 2 of us in the market. Yeah.
So for our product development timeline, for the year 1 first quarter, we plan to continue our research and we'll move forward with researching common allergies so any dog can still receive the same amount of nutrients. For year 1 second quarter, we intend to find how long our product can remain as an emulsion and before bacteria contaminates our product. This will be done to find the shelf life of our product. And for the third quarter of first year, we will find the precise amounts of each component, including a flavoring agent, which will be a peanut butter flavor to make it more delectable. For the fourth quarter, we will find investors and start running test trials in the SoCal area. We also start preparing promotional content for the future. In the second year first half, we will focus on innovating and increasing production and fill the expected demand of the market. For the second half, we're going to shift from production to research, and we'll work to refine new formulas for specific deficiencies. For the first half of the third year, we'll work to increase the efficiency of our supply chain. And for the second half, we aim to stabilize the demand and supply of our product and partake joint venture with a dog company and create food product that enhances the delivery of our product.
So overall, we're asking for 21 million over 3 years for 30% equity. Most of the money is really for the materials because vitamin concentrate costs a lot. And as we grow, the cost of materials will grow exponentially as well. Thank you.
Okay, questions from the audience.
Hi, I did love your presentation. I have 3 dogs, and it is difficult to give them vitamins. And one of the biggest reasons is the smell. They can find it in anything. Does your product have a smell, an odor?
Well, for the experiment that we did, like so far, we didn't add anything to it, but we believe that as we develop, we can add like multiple smells to it. As we already found out in the market, there are existing vitamin which has like flavor, like cherry or anything.
No, my dog can smell anything that is not supposed to be in their food. If you put bacon, you put cheese, something like that. They don't, she knows it's there.
No, as we said, we're gonna try to infuse flavors, mostly peanut butter, because we researched that's really common that a lot of dogs like. So when we emulsify the peanut butter, we plan on that to cancel out the smell, so they won't taste anything or smell anything.
Okay, that's good
Other questions from the audience, please?
So I know you guys put in your timeline that you're going to test to see what the shelf life of your product is, but do you have any idea how long can this thing stay on the shelf before the emulsion breaks?
During our proof of concept, our solution lasted about 8 hours. So we're thinking if we can just find the correct ratio between all the materials and most importantly the thickening agent and emulsifier, then we can probably extend its shelf life to maybe 1 to 2 weeks. But it definitely won't last like more than a month because
Okay, so we're gonna have to sell them quick.
Yeah, we have to sell them quick and get a really efficient supply chain.
I guess I have a quick question. I'm wondering, so one of your selling points is that you can also control the color of the product. Do you know if dogs care about the color at all, or do they like some particular color more?
We don't think color is the main things to change, but I believe like they don't really like matter the color, but like if we change it, probably will attract like different kind of dogs, like as if they want or something.
Okay, I have a question. You're asking for 21 million over the 3 years for 30% equity. I think the 30% for 21 million makes sense if your product is gonna be costing a lot. But based on what you told us about like the positives versus negatives, do you mention a specific value for your product and the fact that the shelf life is pretty low? Do you think that the product cost versus shelf life is like consistent? So it's like two questions.
Okay. So we calculated out the product is will cost us exactly $6.98 to produce. So we were really debating if we should sell it for 15 or 10, but because we're only giving 4 ounces, we set it at 10. And then so I think we said in the fourth quarter of the first year, we said we would run test trials in SoCal. So that's where we're going to experiment and see how long and how quick the trends are for our product to sell out, and then just base our data off of that and send the adequate amount to each area that wants it. Yeah.
Are there certain marketing strategies that you guys might use if this is like a very high cost and short lifespan product that could help you sell more of your product?
I think it maybe just like partnering up with other pet companies like Purina. I think they make food for pets. We plan on like partnering up with those companies and creating sponsorships and like endorsing each other to grow our base. And then it's possible, but not really likely. Maybe we'll sponsor like, it's LA. We have a lot of influence here. We can ask them to endorse our product. Yeah.
And also, like in our future plan, we will also trying to add more like different kind of stabilizing agent to see like which one is working the best that fits our needs. So we will try to longer the times it lasts. And since I think it's a small bottles, it can be used like one time you just finish using it.
Yeah, great. I have two questions. First, I'm curious why the concept of color is important here. Like, do dogs see the colors that well, and does that factor into whether or not they want to eat something? And then my second question is, I guess initially when I was hearing your idea, because you were talking about it being a cream, I just assumed it was a topical application instead of them consuming it. Do you think that might be an interesting route to go if, like one of the earlier questions was pointing out, dogs don't like to eat things that smell weird to them?
So for answering the first question, the colors are actually changed by the agent that we added in. For example, if it's soy lecithin, it will be like a brighter color. If it's like sunflower, it will get darker. There's no actually a things that we change the color on purpose or something, but it's just like different kind of to separate like the two products that we're like selling. And for the second question,
I forgot what the second question was. Can you
Sorry.
Sorry.
The second question was, if it's a cream, would a topical application as opposed to an ingestion route be beneficial, or did you think about that? Like, any thoughts on that possibility?
I mean, like, for now, we're only concerning about food, but we can definitely think about expanding our product to maybe using a lotion or something. Yeah, it's definitely a way we can think in the future.
Hi, I really like the concept. Is the cream by itself or is it supplemental? So like, do you just put the cream in the bowl, or like, do you slather it on a bean burrito and feed it to the dog?
It should be mixed with food, because like vitamins, like we produce like a really small with like 4 ounce of like the container, so it should be mixed with the food for like supplement.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. Okay, next group, please. Switching out this clicker, and hopefully it works.
All right, we're introducing our company Liquid Relief, which is bringing gel bandages onto the market. So introducing our team. I'm the CEO of the company, Brady Curran.
I'm the COO, Dion Wang.
I'm the Chief Scientific Officer, Gina.
I'm the gel manufacturing scientist, Alpietis.
I'm the gel testing scientist, Andy.
All right, so the current problems with our current bandages is they're often constrained by their sizes. For example, if you get like a small cut on like your hand, like it feels wasteful to use a bandage, or it's just inconvenient because like you'll lose mobility in like your fingers or your hand, and it'll just feel awkward to have the Band-Aid on. Then also some wounds will have, like if you have a huge scrape, you might need multiple bandages because you're usually only having one size bandage in your house. So like you'll need like 3 different bandages just to cover one wound. Then also bandages are not friendly to the environment because they have plastics in them. So when you're done using a bandage, the bandage is still going to be around for a long time. So our solution is introducing our product Gel Guardian. So with the gel bandaging, it'll be a liquid in a tub. Then when you apply it onto the wound, it'll solidify into a gel and cover and protect the wound. And it'll also have antimicrobial and pain relieving chemicals inside the gel that'll slowly release into your wound. And what we're trying to do is make sure that it's able to stick to your skin even if you're sweating or if you're washing your hands, because you're mostly going to be using this product like on your hands. So you want to make sure that you can still wash your hands and be safe. And also, since we're using biopolymers, it'll be eco-friendly because they're naturally forming and they're biodegradable. And a single tub, like there's so many different uses, like blood testing or shots when you get those tiny little bandages, or if you get a paper cut or wounds on your hands, like you want something more convenient. And then scrapes, because you don't need to use as many bandages, and also usually you're going to be using a lot of ointments to help with infections, and our product can also help kill bacteria on its own.
Well, so as you know that the main technology used in our product is biopolymer. But what is biopolymer? Well, biopolymer are a natural polymer that produced by the cells of living organisms. And also, just like the other polymer, biopolymer composed of a lot of monomers that they covalently linked with each other to form a large moleculars. And now we know what is biopolymer, but why we use biopolymer in our products, what advantage it has. Well, the first advantage it has is the slow release mechanism. For example, if you cut your finger and you put our product on it, our product can slowly release the medicine to the wounds and continue for a long time. That's mainly because of we add the catosine and the hyaluronic acid into our products. And also because of the other components, our product has a nice antimicrobial ability and pain relieving properties. And also secondly, the main difference between the biopolymer and traditional chemical polymer is that biopolymer have two advantages, biodegradable and biocompatible. Oh, so those two advantage means our products are not only good for you, but also good for environment.
All right. So how did we produce a gel that's actually desirable for this product? So first, we varied our gelling materials and saw which one was actually most compatible with our active ingredients, chitosan and hyaluronic acid. As you can see, the gelatin and the agar formed really heterogeneous mixtures that had bubbles and films of other substances and separations, whereas the alginate had a relatively homogeneous mixture that gelled quickly within a few minutes. We also tested for the ability to absorb nanoparticles for the slow release system. And we did this by suspending the gels in a silver nanoparticle solution and measured how much of the solution it was actually able to absorb. So, our active ingredients and their purposes. So, first and foremost, we have sodium alginate. As we talked about in the previous slide, that is our main gelling agent, and it is what allows our bandage to actually gel up when applied on your skin. So, chitosan and hyaluronic acid is what composes our slow release mechanism. We've been talking about this a lot, but what actually is it? When chitosan and hyaluronic acid bond in a hydrogel like ours, they form a complex with small pores on the nanoscale that allow nanoparticles to slowly exit, and it basically allows for a slow release mechanism where anything put inside it can slowly be released as time goes on, allowing for extended properties such as antimicrobial properties. Now, for this, we used silver nanoparticles as they are able to be released through the nanopores in the chitosan hyaluronic acid complex, and silver nanoparticles can kill bacteria and fungi by causing cell death. They create reactive oxygen species by interacting with the substances within the cells and cause disruption of the cell membrane, leading to cell lysis, which is essentially the actual explosion of a cell, which is then going to lead to cell death.
Now I'm going to compare our product and a similar product called New Skin. So our product acts as a bandage while their product acts as glue. Our product has antimicrobial properties to kill bacteria along with pain-relieving chemicals, while their product is antiseptic with 0.2% benzethonium chloride. And finally, our product can be applied to any size wound, while their product can only be applied to small wounds. For the strengths of our product is a new idea, so we would have less competition. It is antimicrobial and biodegradable. It has multiple uses since it could be applied to any size wound, and because it's a unique product, it would bring in more interest.
So the current sorry about that. The current bandage market is valued to be around $7 billion with a compound annual growth rate of around 4%, which means it's not a fast growing market, but that's because we're not having an increase in the amount of wounds that we're getting. So this also means there's a large consumer market because there's many people in the market to buy bandages, because most of you probably have bandages at home right now. And right now we're planning to sell our products to hospitals to start because they can buy in large numbers and we could sell at a higher price.
All right, so what are we gonna do for our company's timeline? Year one, we're gonna be formulating, we're gonna make sure it's adhering to the skin, it is not gonna sweat off, and then it doesn't dry out in the tub. We're also gonna trademark our beautiful logo right here. Year two, we're gonna be adding the antimicrobial aspects, the pain relieving aspects to our product, and adding preservatives so that it just lasts a while. Year 3, we're going to go to clinical trials. We want to make sure that applying to a wound won't affect it, have any negative effects. And then we also want to reduce the cost to manufacture our product because clinical trials are really expensive. And we want to maximize our profit. And also we're going to patent our formula by this time because we're going to have a finalized formula around that time. Maybe minor adjustments, but yeah. We're going to first be entering the hospital market, as said, because they might buy in bulk and helping our sales. And also they have a bunch of wounds that our product specializes in. We're going to be entering first aid offices in like schools and companies, especially schools, because like your kid falls all the time. And then retail markets, because in the end, we want to sell to everyone. So request funding for years 1 and 2. We are seeking $700,000 for 20% equity of our company. We need $1 million in total, and we can get the other $300,000 from grants requesting. And this is mostly to pay our employees, get raw materials, payroll services, and rent. We're also going to be networking within this first year as well. This especially will help with investors later on because our expenses jumped to $5.5 million within years 2 and 3, mostly because of the clinical trial that cost $3 million. The total, also we have to still pay our employees and get raw materials. We're going to approach this by getting more grants, pitching to more investors, partnering with hospitals, schools, and companies. So that we have a supportive system to like fall back onto. And then eventually we're going to be selling to markets for profit. Our goal is to make it, our goal for our manufacturing cost is $7, and we want to retail it for $15 for like a 7.5 ounce tub. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, questions from our audience, please.
All right, I have 2 questions. First of all, as far as I know, do you think I believe that you apply this gel with your hands. Do you think I'm assuming that, and so how would you wash your hand? Would washing your hands just remove it at like an early stage? Because if you rub it on like a wound, say on your leg with your hand, and it sticks to your hand, then you're going to have a big blob on your hands, and that will be inconvenient.
So basically what we were thinking was that this Band-Aid after it dries down, it basically acts like a Band-Aid. So it's like it adheres together and then you can just rip it off like an actual Band-Aid. It's kind of like those like masks that you put on your face where you can just rip it off in one piece. And so after it dries down, you can just rip it off.
I understand. And second of all, do you think the surrounding areas of the wound may be negatively affected by the silver nanoparticles?
We are planning to use a FDA cleared amount of silver nanoparticles for actual human application. That way, the actual effects of the nanoparticles on the human cells rather than bacteria, various infections should not be too exaggerated and should be very, very minimal, if at all, present.
So if you lower the amount of nanoparticles, won't it not be effective for killing bacteria? But if you increase it, it will harm cells?
Well, like we said, we're going to be using the FDA cleared amount. So this is a concentration rather, not an amount, but that is actually effective at killing bacteria, but without actually being harmful to humans. So
yeah, I want to answer the question that not only the nanoparticle can kill the bacteria, also the sodium alginate itself can kill the bacteria. It can have a nice antimicrobial, so don't need to worry about it.
How long do you imagine it staying on your skin, and how easy would it be to actually rip off?
Yeah, it's probably just to stay on your skin for like 1 to 2 days probably. And then, yeah, it'll be pretty easy to take off on your own. And then if you forget to take it off, it'll be like biodegradable. So it'll go away on its own pretty soon.
Hi, I wanted to know, is this, when you sell to the retail market, will it be packaged in a tube or would it be in like a small round container?
Yeah, we were thinking like in like a tub kind of, where you then use like your hand to get the amount you want and then you apply it onto the wound.
Yeah, so related to that, how, like,
how thick of a layer do you need to put on your skin, or do you know that yet? Like, is it just based on how much coverage you want it to have, or is there like a minimum amount you should put on your wound for it to be, safe?
I mean, the layer shouldn't the thickness of the layer shouldn't matter too much, because in the end we are selling this to retail. We don't want it to be too difficult to use. As long as the layer is actually covering the entirety of your wound, regardless of the thickness, it should be sufficient to actually cover and apply antimicrobial effects.
And how are you gonna make sure your product stays as liquid in the container or not solidify in the container?
I think that's gonna be like just doing research and also making sure that we get the correct packaging. So there's some packaging that will allow a lot of air into the container, and some packagings, like if it's mostly sealed on the top and it's only like a little bit for you to like take out the product, it's gonna be more effective at sealing moisture inside so that it's gonna last longer.
I have I think a follow-up question related to what Kara asked. So how does it actually transition from a liquid to a gel? So what's the mechanism of the cross-linking or the gelation? And how long do you anticipate that would take based on whatever that mechanism is?
So the gelation will generally happen naturally in conditions like your skin. So you can disturb it using a lot of things: temperature, kinetic energy like stirring, but pH is a very effective mechanism to actually disturb this cross-linking so that you can, keep it in the tub as a liquid. And so when it touches your skin, it should gel because your skin has a certain pH that will not disturb the cross-linking.
Thank you. I was wondering, how does your product compare to other like liquid bandages, like New Skin and other things like that?
Okay. Yeah. So for our product, like we mentioned, the benzethonium chloride that they use, for one thing, is definitely a weaker antiseptic. It's mainly for prevention of bacterial infections to grow further rather than for actually killing them off. So that's one thing. Also, the liquid bandage comes with that brush applicator, which is much more inconvenient to actually apply on, say, big wounds. Like, let's say you have those scrapes on your knees or your elbows. That's going to be much more difficult to apply this liquid bandage to.
I was wondering, how might dry climates in applying this hydrogel, I'm assuming it's a hydrogel as in made of water, how might that affect how it might be applied? If it's super dry climate, where I come from, it's like 100 degrees outside during the summer, wouldn't that just evaporate the liquid before it could even be applied?
That's a good question. We'd have to do more testing on super dry climates and super hot climates like that. But we'd like to imagine that through enough testing, we could synthesize a product that would actually be able to withstand in extreme climates like that.
So you mentioned antimicrobial properties, and I assume that that's for, curing any infection that might happen inside the wound. But how does your gel compare to Band-Aids, which protect from contaminants outside going into the wound?
It should protect pretty effectively because, like we said, the slow release mechanism, in essence, is basically like, the best way I can describe it is it's like a bunch of really tiny lanes for stuff to get in and out, right? So if something's trying to get in through the gel, the only really way it can do that is by going through the gaps in the polymers, and most of those are going to be filled with some kind of antimicrobial, whether that's silver nanoparticles or the sodium alginate gelling agent itself. So that should be killing off anything that tries to get in from the outside.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. And I'd just like to thank our audience. I'm really proud of you guys for all the questions you're asking.
Hello? I'm excited to announce our company that
5 of us worked really hard over the past 4 days. It's called Delta EOR. In case if you don't know what an EOR is, it's an enhanced oil recovery technology, and it's used in countless refineries across the nation. And before I start, I want to introduce our team members, Wayne, Jack, Kylie, Michael, and myself, Arno. And I want to include a story before we start off our presentation. So in the back information in North Dakota, enhanced oil recovery techniques, EOR, often use chemically synthesized emulsifiers to boost oil extraction efficiency. However, in 2018, an emulsifier mixed with water created an unstable emulsion, and it contaminated water bodies all across the region. And it contaminated the Missouri River Basin, and it impacted countless communities, countless residents, as they had limited access to clean water and potential health risks. And I'm sharing this story today because I want you guys to know how important it is to use a biodegradable emulsifier that doesn't result in chemically synthetic emulsifiers in our soil and water, and it is our duty as our company to make the world more friendly.
Delta EOR aims to make oil recovery eco-friendly by using biodegradable emulsions. An emulsion is when two liquids that don't naturally mix, like oil and water, disperse in one another. These are created by emulsifiers like our product, BioBlend, to improve both sustainability and yield. Current extraction methods, such as fracking, low salinity water injection, and synthetic chemicals, further degrade local ecosystems. Also, if oil is improperly processed, then water disrupts the combustion reaction when used in fuel and lowers efficiency. Oil is used in most sectors and powers global industries. With corporations like Chevron, billions of dollars are poured into refineries. We are shifting to renewable energy, but this requires a public consensus, investment, and time. Even small changes to the oil supply chain is a start to paving a more sustainable future.
Okay, this is the first part of our experiment. Our goal is try to find out the emulsifier that can have the best interaction with oil molecules. And these are our observation over 10 minutes. From left to right, we added soy lysine, sugar, and salt into oil. Mix them by shaking over 60 seconds. As you can see, the soy lysine can better form an emulsion with oil. So why soy lysine is the best emulsifier? The main reason is it can reduce interfacial tension because it has an amphiphilic structure that contains a hydrophobic head and a hydrophobic tail, which can react with oil molecules. And second, it has formed a protective film. And the last, it can increase the viscosity.
Well, in part 2 experiment, our main goal is to test the oil, compare the oil yield between our technique to the traditional technique. As you can see from this video, we are drilling out the oil from the gaps, and you can see that there are still some residual oil remaining in the gaps, and that's also wastes a lot of water and leaves some residual oil. Well, this is our 3D model to simulating the cave structure underground with many cracks in it. Well, our procedure is to put some oil into the cracks, and first our technique is to apply some soil lecithin solution and froth that. Then we extract the water out and separate them. And you can see the photo on the right side. Our technique has a higher oil yield than the traditional technique. The right one is our oil yield.
Okay, here is our results. We compare the traditional method of oil extraction to our method. And as you can see from the blue bar, we add the same amount of oil into the oil cracks in our 3D model. And our method produces more volume of oil, as you can see from the black bar. And in addition, our method uses less amount of water, so it's more environmentally friendly. So here is our nanotechnology part. As you can see, this is the chemical structure of soil lecithin. And we found 3 chemical properties of it. The first one is amphiphilicity, and the second one is biodegradability, and the third one is surface activity. And soil lecithin is just a proof of concept in our experiment, but in our actual EOR system, we plan to use AEO as our emulsifier, which is fatty alcohol polyoxyethylene ether. And why we choose AEO? The first reason is it works well over a wide range of temperatures. So for example, you can use it in cold winter or hot summer. And the second reason is environmentally friendly, it's biodegradable. And the third one is it costs less.
Okay, so as you can see, there's like over like 12 million jobs in the US that are just provided from the oil and gas industry. And it's a significant contributor to GDP. It makes up 16% of US capital expenditures, like again, reinforcing the like how big this company is, this industry. And however, it's like harming our ecosystems too. Like a lot of waste is being emitted in the water, air, and the soil. So the market is always going to have room to like improve on more sustainable like features like us today. So
in contrast to existing solutions, Delta EOR uses AEO9, which is compatible with ecosystems after breakdown. Its recovery rate is also 77% versus the standard 30 to 50%. BioBlend also stays liquid at low temperatures, appealing to colder states in the Northeast year-round. Initially, we will conduct trials with small businesses where we reduce prices in exchange for feedback. This would enable us to attain a stable customer base for vertical integration. We could potentially sell complementary de-emulsifiers to BioBlend to isolate oil for commercial use.
okay, so this is our 3-year timeline. And for our first year is our ideation period. We're trying to convince our investors to like give us enough money we need to like actually start. But we're gonna also like prove the proof of concept to make sure our product works. And we're gonna do like our one-time costs such as trademark, copyright for marketing, and a patent. And next year is the MVP phase where we make the minimal valuable product. And we are gonna send it to like different like customers who might be interested. And in the next year, we revise like based on customer feedback to make a new formula that would be later sent to the market in the following years to come. And we hope to collaborate with other initiatives that care about sustainability. And yeah, this is our potential pricings. Like after much calculations, we thought we should sell our formula $4.05 per liter, but as inflation of raw materials occurs, we'll increase about 12 cents. We want a 20% profit margin to like pay back our investors, and we're asking for $7 million for the first 3 years and 12% equity. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm making sure that you get the easy questions. You mentioned in the beginning a disaster in the Bakken oil fields in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Did that disaster involve? Well, actually, you could interpret this more as a critique than a question because as far as I know, did that disaster involve both emulsifiers and oil?
So that was like, well, yeah, the emulsifier is chemically synthesized, and it went into like the water stream, and people were like drinking it. Imagine like drinking like nanoplastics in your water, and that's what most of these like companies are using as like a way to like create these chemically synthesized emulsifiers. And it was not just in the water; it was in the soil. It impacted like irrigation, agriculture, and like cultivation. And yeah.
Yes, I understand that, but I'm pretty sure. But as far as I know, I know that many incidents involving oil extraction involve having the oil itself being in the ecosystem, along with emulsifiers. So I just think that maybe it's and the harmful effects of oil on ecosystems is extremely well documented. So I just want to say that maybe this product isn't doing that much. That maybe the emulsifier isn't the okay.
You were right. The oil is also like polluting like the water too, but like we're also like consuming plastic in our water, which I want to emphasize that we could have a biodegradable option. You're definitely right.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you.
Other questions? Oh.
I just want to ask that how could you like frosting the OU just underground? Because you create a box and you put the emotion in, you just shake them and you just get the emotion. But I mean, when it's underground and there are many cracks, and also I mean, for really good quality OU, it's like maybe olive OU, and it's a really like not that not have very high viscosity, but for like poor quality OU. They're more like asphalt, and they're really they have really high viscosity, and it's really difficult to try to maybe frost them. And so, how could you like to make them become emotion? I mean, because they're really viscosity than the ones that you show on the PPT. I think it's more. I think you show. I think you use olive OU to like to show the phenomena, but what you will face is actually the ones with really high viscosity.
Thanks for the question. And we do find a technique that called alternating injection by adding water first to increase the reservoir pressure, followed by the emulsion rejection. To further explain, mix the oil and emulsion through the surfactant and solubilization effect. And you did mention about the viscosity, and we are trying to optimize the concentration and the formation of these chemicals we use for the emulsions to ensure the stable of oil the concentration.
And I also have a second question. You say that you want to make some emulsion to make the OU and water combine, but I mean, when you like to just use water, it just goes under the OU and lift the OU up. But when you make some to be emulsions, the emulsion will just stay at the bottom and will be harder for you to reach them. So, what's your idea?
Use water is traditional method we use nowadays, and we use for emulsions. Our goal is to extract more oil volume, and I think the emulsion, it's not hard to extract the emulsion as well.
I just mean that when you just add water in it, the water will just go to the bottom and lift the OU up, and it will be easier for you to reach the OU at the bottom of the cracks. And when they become real emotions, as you say, they will just become more heavy, and it will be harder for you to reach them because they just stay at the bottom of the cracks, and you just couldn't get them. I mean.
If you want to make oil be emulsified, you can. We already found a system that use gas such as carbon dioxide or nitrogen that make it oil into emulsified.
So I was wondering about what your frothing like tool equivalent would be in an actual cave, because you mentioned how like the structure is very different. There are a lot of sharp angles. So would a tool like that that's able to froth the oil water mixture pretty well also damage like cave, like formations or something?
Well, we are trying to avoid that accident, and we are thinking about using the air pressure to do that.
Well, I think your main idea is to how to input the energy into the cave. There are several ways to input energy into the cave to make an emulsion. You can use the supersonic technique, or you can blow some air into it, like you blow air into the straw into the water, like boiling, like something.
So I was curious to get a little bit more detail on exactly what the product will look like when you're selling it. Like, is it just the soy lecithin and nothing else? Because if it's just the soy lecithin and nothing else, I would wonder then why the companies would go to you for this and not just buy soy lecithin on its own and just do the same process themselves.
We definitely not just sell the soy licensing. We are trying to like create a new emulsions or emulsifier that can have a better reaction with the oil, and yeah, to better extract the oil out. And yeah, we do need some innovation or that chemical formulation.
We're planning to also include an MES buffer, which would make it so that our AEO9 emulsion doesn't like experience sudden changes in pH, because some chemicals underground can have like different acidities or like basic levels. So that would definitely make our product different from just soy lecithin.
And then all of this right now is our like MVP. So we're gonna have to wait from our customers and hear what we need to add to like finalize our formula, and then we can start selling into markets.
Okay. Any last questions? All right. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're going to have one more group and then a break. So group 1.
Okay. Nano AG Inc. Ryan Shu, Matthew Gomez, Rachel Uwano, Viraj Pandey, and Braden Kim. So, mold problem? Hate seeing black stains and annoying to reach places like the back of the washer or under the bed. A 2022 report by the CDC estimated 47% of all homes in the United States has mold to some degree. Now, audience, please look to the person to your right and look to the person to your left. Well, the odds are one of them has mold in their home, so pretty scary. And importantly, mold can be life-threatening to the young, elderly, and people with asthma or COPD, so it's a very important issue. So our solution, no more mold. So no more mold is a coating that prevents mold growth and kills bacteria, a 2-in-1. And it utilizes hydrophobic silver nanoparticles in a paste that prevents dampness, which will prevent mold growth. And its properties also makes it safer than leading brands like Clorox.
So how does it work? So our silver nanoparticles are often mistaken as food by microbes, and after they're ingested, they become silver ions. And as ions, they create a reactive oxygen species, or ROS. They are basically a type of unstable molecule that contains oxygen and that easily reacts with other molecules in the cell. And this is what gives our product its antimicrobial property. So what makes our product special? Our product contains oleic acid, which is hydrophobic, and this is what gives our silver nanoparticles its hydrophobicity. So the hydrophobic tail of the oleic acid aligns to create a hydrophobic coating around the nanoparticle, and it makes our nanoparticles sticky and water repellent, which prevents the growth of mold.
So how do we know the antimicrobial properties actually work? Well, obviously we have to kill some things. But before we do that, we have to make sure our samples are alive, and in this case we use yeast. So how do we do that? So we measure cellular respiration levels using the device over there, a manometer. But what exactly is cellular respiration, and what can it tell us? Cellular respiration is the process cells use to convert glucose and oxygen into water, energy, and in our case, most importantly, carbon dioxide. When the cells produce carbon dioxide, the water levels in the tubing of the manometer will go up, indicating that the cell is alive and respiring. So once we knew our samples were alive, we added our product, Nanomore. So what actually happened? Well, when we left the yeast in the water to respire on its own, the water levels was 3 centimeters. But in addition to testing the effectiveness of our product, we also wanted to test the main active ingredient of our competitors, bleach. So when we added the bleach, the water levels rose 1.2 centimeters, and even after 2 minutes, the water continued to rise. This means that the bleach, while it did kill some particles, it did not completely kill all of the yeast. But when we add our nanomore solution, the water levels only rose 0.1 centimeters, and after 20 seconds, all growth was stopped. This means that our product is not only effective at killing bacteria, but quickly killing bacteria.
So how do you know it prevents future growth? So we added two solutions to a petri dish. We added a bleach solution and our nanomore solution. And we left them to sit out for 12 hours. So then we added a yeast mixture onto the two petri dishes, and this was to measure how effective each solution was at killing the yeast. So we could see this by how much foam or bubbles was produced on each mixture. So as you can see on the bleach, there's a lot of foam compared to the nanomore solution, which had no foam or bubbles anywhere, which means that it killed all the yeast effectively. So this means that even after 12 hours, nanomore was more effective in preventing future growth of mold or yeast.
So how do we compare our competitor brands? As said previously, our product not only kills bacteria, but it prevents the growth of mold. It also has a long-lasting effect. And we do not use bleach. Our product does not contain bleach, and bleach is often known to be corrosive and irritant to your skin and your eyes. So our product is much safer. And last but not least, our product is similar to our competitors, only under $10, which ours being $9.99.
All right. So how does our product stack up in the disinfectant market? So the global disinfectant market is worth over $7 billion as of 2024 and has a compound annual growth rate of 5.68% over the next 9 years. So by 2023, it'll be worth over $12 billion. Now, in the United States, where we'll be first selling our product, it's worth $1.7 billion and makes up roughly 22.6% of the global market. Now, I know I just said a lot of numbers, but what does this mean for us and our product? Well, the global disinfectant market is rapidly growing, and our product would fit nicely. It would be a perfect opportunity to join the market because of its traction in recent years. Now, let's have a look at our company timeline over the next 3 years. In the first year, we'll apply for a small business innovative research grants. These grants are provided by the federal government. They're completely free, and they help us develop and research our product. We'll also begin initial development and manufacturing our product while conducting classical market research. Well, what is market research, and why is it so important? Well, classical market research allows us to identify our target audience, which helps us identify the problems that they need to solve so we can address it with our product. In our second year, we'll finish the development of our product and we'll enter local markets. While in this time also, we'll file for patents, copyrights, and intellectual properties, so other companies do not steal our product or idea. We could also copyright our logo. We'll also see corporate investment because in the third year, we'll improve our original product using MVPs. Now, what do they stand for? MVPs are minimum viable products. It's basically a prototype that we release on the market so customers can give us feedback, which we can use to improve our product. We'll also expand our market so we can include paints, wipes, tiles, and more. And we need to sell equity to larger investors because in the upcoming years, we'll start bulk manufacturing them. And now, I just mentioned all 3 years. How much do they cost? Well, we need around $600,000 for the first year because we'll do a lot of research during that year too. We need one-time pays, and we also need to pay our employees. For the second year, we need to pay $1 million for further research, and for our products to be in the market, we need materials. And for the third year, we need to do a lot more research, and we'll also prepare to start bulk manufacturing them. So for our funding, we're seeking $4.1 million for over 3 years for 25% equity. Thank you.
love your participation.
I don't know if I missed anything here, but how is it applied to a wall, say? You have a wall with mold on it. Can you spray it on? Do you wipe it on?
Yes, our product will be sold in spray bottles, so you can spray easily. Yes. So in our product expansion later on, we're planning to make it into like gels, paints, just more ways to apply it.
Is your product safe to use around people and animals?
Similar to other cleaning products, it's not recommended to use and be touching constantly, but because the ingredients we use, the nanoparticles, aren't corrosive or make bad fumes, it is generally safer to be around.
Hi. So you mentioned the product is $9.99. How much am I actually getting for that?
A full 16 ounces, which is pretty much the same you'll get from other cleaning products from other brands.
So one thing that you mentioned in your presentation is that you said your product is hydrophobic. Two questions connected to that. One, did you actually test the hydrophobicity of your product? And two, if your product is hydrophobic, I'm curious how that would allow it to enter the cells, because wouldn't something that's hydrophobic also be sort of biophobic at that point?
Well, the earlier picture we had on our slide, let's go back. So that picture, that top red layer, that is colored water, and on the bottom is our particles. So they did not combine at all through our tests. And for your second question, what was it again?
About the hydrophobicity affecting its ability to enter cells.
Oh. Well, from our initial tests, they were able to enter and kill the cells, but that will come with more development and research on the topic.
Thank you. I have a question about reapplying your product. I know you tried to make it stickier with oleic acid, but do you have any estimate how often would I need to reapply it?
So our test was for 12 hours, so we know for sure it does work after 12 hours. But based on how long nanoparticles can stay, we would say you'd have to replace it every 3 to 4 days.
Are you sure that we'll work on mold? Because I think maybe mold is much stronger than yeast.
So the purpose is to prevent mold with its hydrophobic properties. So it'll prevent moisture, which will prevent the mold from being able to grow.
This is not only a lot cheaper, but there have also been several studies on silver nanoparticles showing the effectiveness of actually killing the mold. So it'll not only prevent, but it will also kill.
So lots of cleaning products are sold as solutions in water, and your nanoparticles are hydrophobic. So what is the other component in your spray that you're using to deliver your nanoparticles?
So the nanoparticles were in a solution of ammonia. So they seem to stay in an aqueous form when in ammonia.
We have time for one more question.
Could I ask about the diameter of a nano-silver particle that you use, because it's related to how far the particles will deposit to the bottom?
We weren't able to take any images of our particles in this case, but we're trying to, through the development process, get that size from like down to under 10 nanometers, because that's been shown to be the most effective size of nanoparticles.
All right, great. Thank you guys so much. All right, we're gonna get started again just to keep us on time, because guys, we have food after this. So we want to end on time to get to food. Okay, so we have group 7. You want to come get microphones and stuff?
All right, hello everybody. Before we introduce our company, you may have seen our title and our logo, but we first want to introduce our team. I'm Grant Capano.
Daniel.
I'm Jeffrey.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Sarika. Raise your hand if you've ever had a delay on a flight. Literally all the hands are going up. Most of us find it quite annoying. So 75% of system delays are caused by weather, including frost. These delays can take over an hour just to de-ice the plane, and most of us don't like this at all. We don't want our time to be delayed just because we need to de-ice the plane when we have other products that can fix this. Companies also lose money with each delay, and this is a crucial problem that needs to be solved.
Not only do companies lose money, but they also lose property and the lives of people. According to the United States Department of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Administration, during the period 2008 to 2021, there were at least 52 aircraft accidents and 64 fatalities that identified structural in-flight icing as a cause or factor. This whole reason is why we made
Chelaero. The name of our product comes from the blend between two words, chelerisque, which means thermal in Latin, and aero, which means air in Greek.
Well, you might be asking, what is Chelaero? Chelaero is a double-layered defrosting film that can be added to the external surfaces of aircraft. The first layer is an adhesive gold nanoparticle-infused elastic polymer film, or PDMS film. And the second layer is a Teflon-layered super hydrophobic surface. You might be wondering what Teflon is or what super hydrophobicity is, but we'll get to that later. Right now we'll focus on the first part. So how does these adhesive gold nanoparticle-infused films work? Well, they work through a thing called surface plasmon resonance. What surface plasmon resonance is the resonant oscillation of electrons on the surface of particles. For our film, that means when solar radiation or light from the sun hits our film, the electrons within the particles resonate back and forth, creating thermal energy, which then heats tiny droplets or micro droplets of freezing ice water that planes accumulate while flying and evaporates them.
Before we get into how our product works, or like the main part of it, we needed to prove what the concept that we needed to prove was, which was embedding the nanoparticles into the polymer solid. So the first thing we did was synthesize nanoparticles of different sizes and shapes, such as spheres and stars, and then we infused them in the PDMS and polystyrene films by soaking them in the nanoparticles. So as you can see, not only are these very pretty colors, but they also show the different wavelengths that they were able to absorb, which shows the maximum light absorption and the most amount of heat possible that we can gain from our product.
Okay, so in our testing, we use UV visible spectroscopy to see how the different nanoparticles that we synthesized interact with light. And we found that the control, which was just pure water, did not have any absorption, which you can see by this flat yellow line down here. And then meanwhile, all the other nanoparticles that we made exhibited their unique absorption peaks, which you can also see here. They're just the peaks along the different wavelengths. And so because they're so spread out across the different spectrums of light, we can combine all the nanoparticles that we made to ultimately enhance the light absorption abilities of our final product.
As Grant said before, the external layer of our product is a super hydrophobic layer. But what does that mean? A super hydrophobic layer is a layer that repels water droplets from forming in the surface. This makes it impossible to form a frozen surface in the airplane. In order to find the best option for the super hydrophobic layer, we measured the contact angle of different substances. The contact angle is here, the angle between this green line and the red line. And the substances we choose to test were Teflon, which is polytetrafluoroethylene, glass, and polyestyrene, which is a petri dish in this case. By testing, we got the following results. Teflon had 150 degrees of contact angle, glass had 17 degrees of contact angle, and polyestyrene had 60 degrees of contact angle. And considering that the bigger the contact angle is, the more hydrophobic the material will be, we concluded that the best material for our product would be the Teflon.
As you can see, the global aircraft de-icing market is increasing and expanding, though the market is competitive. But I think our products will revolutionize the field. A film like ours doesn't exist yet, so I think there will be a space for us. For our products, because we use nanoparticles converting light energy to thermal energy to evaporate the ice in an effective and efficient way. So, because of the high efficiency of heat producing, our product is resistant to harsh conditions. And moreover, it's non-electrical, which means there's no additional energy needed. And also, it's fuel efficient because basically our product is just layer cover on the airplane, so there's no more weight. And also, it's cost effective because of the fuel efficient and non-electrical.
Okay, so you guys may care about the issue of cost. And our cost is just $1,220 for per square meters. And it's actually, surprisingly, almost half of the price of our competitors. And that's because our product does not include things like models or mechanical structures, so it actually saves a lot. And also, what's more is our cost is mainly comes from the cost of Teflon films, which when we buy in large amounts, its price will decrease dramatically. And for our competitors, we do not include the cost of defrost liquids. So when you practically use them, you need to pay more to them. And
okay, so to protect the intellectual property of our company, we plan on filing for a utility patent to protect the process and production of our film, as well as a trademark to protect our logo and name, which you can see on the screen.
So for our timeline, we started creating our company trademark and main idea of the product, and then we asked for a grant by CBIR, which is Small Business Innovative Research. And now we're here asking for an angel investor of $500,000 for 10% of the company. Then in October 2025, we plan to pitch our idea to Boeing to sell, asking for $5 million investment to exclusive use of the product for the first 4 years of it in the market. It must get in the market 1 year after that, which will be when we start implementing it to the airplanes. And in July 2027, we plan to extend the company. The prices for this for each year will be that in the first year, we'll pay $1.5 million. In the second year, $3.3 million. And in the last year, about $5 million.
We are asking for $500,000 for 10% of the company.
Thanks for your attention.
Okay, questions from our audience, please.
Hi, I was wondering, how is the Shaliro film gonna adhere to like the surface of planes and windows and the other like applications you had for it?
So PDMS is a slightly sticky surface, so our plan is to adhere directly with the PDMS onto the airplane.
So my question is, you mentioned that there's no additional weight when you apply this, but I know traditional films, wraps for vehicles or things like that the rolls are actually pretty heavy. So I assume it would actually increase the weight on the airplane. How would that go?
So basically, the weight is marginally less than other current things on the market, such as the thermoconductive heating things that are around the engine. So this will be much lighter than those, and it will be more effective as it doesn't use extra fuel or electricity.
And also, in fact, you said that the rolls are quite heavy, but we don't have to use that much. We're selling the product for the companies, and then they put as much as they want. Usually, they would just put in the most important parts of the plane. It is not necessary to be all around it.
Hi, thank you. Does the frequent flexing of an airplane wing over time have any effect on how it sticks to the wing?
Well, with the adhesive PDMS, we wouldn't expect it to. We need further money and further research to explore that, but from our knowledge, it does not have any effect.
It's been well documented that over time, nanoparticles begin to break down. So how long would your film last? And I guess in addition to that, like how much, because you market like a lower cost, but if the particles are breaking down constantly, wouldn't you have to apply your film more? So wouldn't the cost be exponentially higher?
I mean, it's actually more difficult for nanoparticles to break in really low temperature. And our planes will fly, high in the sky, so it will be really low temperature, so it won't break very quickly. But we may need additional money to study the time it needed to totally break and lose this function.
Also, in addition to this, de-icing liquid is one of the main things that airline companies do use, and that causes a lot of waste. And our film will last at least more than once, like the de-icing liquid.
Since you had mentioned de-icing, is there any labor involved in removal or maintenance of the aircraft during the months when de-icing is not required, like summer months? And would that reduce the efficiency or the production of planes itself?
In fact, no, it doesn't. For what we know, we could do some extra research on that. But basically, the heat that it is outside, it doesn't get inside the plane, so it would not affect the functionality of the plane or the people inside of it.
So I saw on your UV vis that it looked like the star-shaped particles had different multiple peaks, and the spherical ones only had one. Can you guys tell me why that might be?
So the star shapes basically can absorb different wavelengths because they have because of their shape. So by combining both the stars and spheres in our product, we can absorb a wider variety of wavelengths.
Okay, thank you. I have a question about your timeline. So one of the I don't quite remember how far in advance it is. I think it's like 2 years in or something. Yeah, you were saying that you would like to pitch this idea to Boeing, but let's say Boeing said no. What would be your alternative?
Our alternative would probably be extending our company to, say, power lines, for example. During the winter seasons, power lines freeze over and tend to fall down, causing major power outages across cities. We could also apply it to cars as they freeze over in winter, and potentially spaceships, as it gets very cold in space, as everybody knows.
Oh yeah, and also our product can also be applied to private jets, which might be an easier pitch for that because people might be willing to pay more for that.
With your timeline, did you think at all about the FAA regulations that might come into play? Like, do you have any sense of whether or not de-icing technology is also regulated by that authority or other authorities if we're talking about like international markets?
We were aware of the requirements for that. However, we didn't fully research into that. We were aware of the different icing systems and how that might affect, like using electric coils or using the engine heat to heat up the plane. But we also did see isophobic films as well. So ours would be similar to that in that sense, so it would be FAA approved.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, group 2.
Let's make some noise. So, all right. So obviously it isn't actually noise because you're supposed to spell that with a C, with a S, and it's actually no eyes, which is the purpose of our product.
And on the left is our logo for our company.
And here is the slogan of our company: "Protect your passion, conquer the cold," which highlights our company's focus in winter sports.
And I'm Ihun.
I'm Seelan.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Zion.
I'm Howard.
I'm Jack.
So, what is the problem? Have you ever experienced the annoying ice on your ice skating blades when you go skating? Well, this problem impacts many. So, one importance of this problem is that it can cause safety risks, including tripping, falling on the ice, and you don't really want that. Also, that factor leads into the negative effect on performance within professional athletes, which, and also, moreover, when you remove these eyes from the blade, you have to use your hand, which can cause like cuts, unwanted cuts. So we introduce our product to you, the No Ice Anti-Icing Spray, which prevents excess ice from forming on ice skating blades. This is our prototype sketch. So we did a little research on the market, and there are some similar solutions. On the left, it's the Never Wet two-step process spray. It has a really pungent smell. When we did the evaluation experiment, we had to go outside as the instructors didn't really want to deal with the smell. And it isn't specified to blades. And it's also very inconvenient as you have to wait 15 minutes in between. And on the right, you can see that it's a one-step spray, but it does not work on metal. It's very expensive, as you can see, with the $110 per 12 ounce. And also, it is not accessible as you can only purchase the product from their website and your email. So, what makes our product different? For our technology, we use the super hydrophobic nanosilica powder and also the super hydrophobic silicon dioxide, the PU coating.
Before introducing our experiment, I want to explain some scientific concepts to you. Contact angle is the angle of the drop at the point of contact with the surface. A substance nanostructure can affect its properties in a large scale. The rougher the nanostructure is, the more hydrophobic a surface is. And that's why we choose DCT, which stands for 1-decanesyl, as our imitator for our experiment. In the experiment 1, we divided 12 equal surface area steel pieces into 4 groups. The first one is steel, the second one is never wet with only 1 coating, which you don't have to wait in between. The third one is never wet with 2 coating, so you have to wait around 15 to 20 minutes in between. The last one is DCT, our imitator of our product. As you can see here, the lower the sliding angle, the more hydrophobic the substance is. As you can see, never wet with 2 coating works extremely well here because the sliding angle is basically 0. It's literally standing on the surface. However, the 15 to 20 minutes waiting time between 2 coating can be really annoying to players, especially elite athletes. And our imitator, DCT, does a better job than never wet with 1 coating.
Now, you might ask, how does our product perform on skates, on real skates? Because real skates, they work on ice after all, and we need to soak them in a cold environment. So that's why we decided to put these 4 types of surfaces into the freezer for an hour. And after these hours, we tested their contact angle. And surprisingly and unsurprisingly, Never Wet worked the best. So maybe right now you think, wait, are you a Never Wet advertising company? But unfortunately, we're not. We have to compare the results of before and after to see that actually before and after freezing, Never Wet has the largest change in contact angle, reaching a 40. So that means Never Wet isn't resilient to cold, and we wouldn't want that on our skates because, well, we're skating on ice after all. And after that, we also, to our product. Well, our product with our nanosilica coating, we would achieve around 150 degrees of contact angle on solid materials, meaning that it achieves super hydrophobicity. As we can see on right here, this perfect droplet on your surface will slide right off, better than Never Wet. Besides that, we also tested the melting time it takes for the same amount of ice to melt on these 4 types of surfaces. And we found that Never Wet actually takes the longest time to melt. Well, we wouldn't want that too, because, well, if ice gets splattered onto the side of your blade, you want it to melt as fast as possible for it to form into water and to slide right off your blade. So that's why Never Wet isn't good. And after that, we did an abrasion test. We threw these 4 types of steel pieces into an ice-water mixture and put it on the magnetic stir for 10 minutes. So after this, we also tested their contact angle. Notice here our imitator DCT performed the worst, and way worse. the contact angle decreased by 60 degrees. So that means DCT as our imitator isn't resilient to abrasion. Abrasions happen to skates every time because, well, as a figure skater myself, I have to spin, I have to jump, I have to do a lot of stuff to skates, and I wouldn't want my material on the skates to wear off. Therefore, how is our product better? Our product has longer durability. After 100 abrasions with sandpaper on hard metal, our contact angle only decreased by 10 and our sliding angle only decreased by 3. Way better. And besides that, our product is even more eco-friendly, as silver nanoparticles used to coat the DCT would cause cell death, and never wet, as shown on the manual. It says don't come in contact with skin because it would easily cause cancer. In contrast, our silica nanoparticles have lower biotox because after a long exposure of a long amount on a long time, they will only cause some mutants.
There's a huge market for our future expansion. There are over 85 million ice skating participants in the world. And let me explain to you how we make this from a scientific concept to real product. We first found the superhydrophobic protocol from science labs, realizing it can be used to prevent water staying on metal or carbon fiber, and that's why we created this product for skating blades. But not only skating blades have metal or carbon fiber on it, right? So it can be also utilized in hockey sticks or skate equipment.
And so this is the company timeline. So for the first year, we are planning to design and test product prototypes, as well as conduct market research of our product. And we're also going to apply for patents and create a trademark. And so the final cost will be about $930,000. So for the second year, we're gonna conduct different testing in real skating conditions to detect and fix all potential problems and aim to develop a production chain. So the final cost will be about $1.3 million.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about year 3. So we're gonna develop and produce the first batch of our product, No Ice, and we will keep in produce anti-icing spray in a small quantity for public testing. And we're gonna have our cost about 1.75 million. And in the future, after year 3, and we're gonna keep in producing the mass production of our products and expand the company. And we're gonna have our starting cost about 4 million and for 20% equity.
About available market, from now there are total $85 million in the skating equipment market, and our goal is to sell 0.5 million bottles, and that will take 5% of the share of the market. And our price for the bottle is $90, and it could be used for a month for a professional player. But with the development of company, we could lower the price.
So thank you all investors. We want you to help us provide nano solutions, not just to us, but to all people on this podium before and after us, to provide nano solutions to micro problems that we might face every day. With these micro problems, we could provide solutions to macro problems in our world to make this world a more sustainable and inclusive space for us and for future generations, where hope and possibility could radiate throughout this podium to UCLA and to the whole entire world, where hope and things that we might need for us and future generations knows no bonds. So investors, we need your help. Thank you really much.
Okay, questions from the audience, please.
Can you go back and sort of clarify the difference between the tests that you were doing in your proof of concept versus what your final product was going to be in terms of formulation? Because I think you said they were going to be somewhat different, but it just I think you kind of went a little fast, so it wasn't clear to us. So if you could explain again, that'd be great.
So due to time and material issues, we weren't able to synthesize our final products, and we used DCT as a mimic. And so basically first of all, we did a sliding angle test to show that like never wet is really good, and that's what we want to mimic. But after we froze the thing, like the results showed that never wet is actually like not durable to the cold. So that means we wouldn't want that. Like our product beat that. And well, after that, we're gonna show that we are like more hydrophobic than our than our mimics, and never wet is.
because our contact angle and sliding angle are both like really large and really small. And after that, we compared like when we show that narrow wet doesn't work, that's not a comparison. We just show that narrow wet doesn't work. And after that, we mentioned an abrasion because the like these type of stuff doesn't like our mimic, and the never wet itself isn't like durable to abrasion, but our product is, because we basically just like stirred the steel plates in ice and water to mimic ice. But our product, we like according to sources, it shows that like even after rubbing on sandpaper, it will last, and it will last even better.
So, but wait, but is your final product gonna have the DCT in it? Like,
No.
what is the final product gonna be?
Okay, so the final product is gonna be like the silicon nanoparticles, basically, and it relates to the imitator, like the DCT imitator, because of the nanostructure. And as I mentioned, as Ethan mentioned, the rougher the nanostructure surface is, like the more hydrophobic it will be, right? So our silica powder and the silicon nanoparticles exhibit that feature, as there was a picture showing like that the surface is very like rough, which means that relates to the DCT.
So, but in the lab that you guys did, was it the DCT that was causing the roughness?
There was a silver nanoparticle coating that we mentioned has also biotox, and that's why our product would be better.
So it was the silver nanoparticle that was creating the roughness, right?
Yes.
So then if you're using silicon nanoparticles, that is the roughness, but then what is causing the hydrophobicity?
The PU coating.
Okay. Cool.
I have two questions. One of them, the first one, has to do with market research. Were you implying that you're only getting 0.5 of the market percentage, or what was the market research like? And then I'll go into the second one afterwards.
It was saying that we can capture 5% of the market by selling 0.5 million bottles. Yeah, because again, as I mentioned before, there are existing solutions, but it's not dedicated to like ice skating blades or like the winter sports market. So after like 3 years or so, I think we can capture the market, like 5% of the market, by only selling 0.5 million bottles.
Okay, and to add to that, what is your market?
The winter sports equipment, like protection market.
Okay, it's specifically winter sports for athletes.
Yeah, because
okay.
Also our company's name is Frostguard, and it's dedicated to more of like a preventing ice. So winter sports, yeah.
I understand during your tests, when you test for abrasion, it decreased with your DCT. But I was wondering, how often would you have to reapply this powder each time you would skate?
Basically, for professional elite athletes that have to go on ice training around 3 to 4 times a week, we would need them to reapply every once a week. So basically, our bottle usage is enough for like a 1 month usage of elite athlete, which is around 12 ounces. So it like really depends on how much time you go onto the ice each time and like the intensity of your training.
All right, so the only company that you guys compared your product to was Never Wet, and Never Wet doesn't necessarily like specify to just ice melting. So are there any other companies that specialize in what you do, and how does your product do better than them?
And unfortunately, this is the only thing in the market that is available that is specialized to blades. Nothing else is like this.
Other questions?
So when you're ice skating, the contact of your blade with the ice and the properties of that contact is pretty important. So would your spray in any way affect the properties or the feel of skating on these skates? Would it make your contact with the ice and feel any different or behave any differently than if they were uncoated?
So I can't draw here, but ice skating blades are like this. The sides are like this, basically. And the thing you skate on is a curve in the middle. So we're basically spraying it to the sides of the blades, not the part we skate with.
All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. Okay, group 5, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Sharbel. I stand here today to present to you a revolutionary invention that we plan on introducing into the orthopedic market. Today I present bone gel. So I want to start this presentation by introducing the different members of our team. Our chief marketing officer is Mr. Min. Our chief of technology is Mr. Shu. Our scientific officer is Min Jun Zhou. Our chief operating officer is myself, and finally, our CEO is Sasha von Kunzberg. Okay. Bone Gel is a company that provides pharmaceutical products. Our first innovation is a gel made of a multitude of biopolymers, each one having a proved role in bone regrowth and regeneration. We incorporated these different biopolymers into a single gel, exponentially reducing healing time for broken bones. One of the main ideas of our product is to be biosafe. Therefore, it is entirely based on biopolymers. But what are biopolymers? Biopolymers are polymers that are produced or derived from living organisms, which makes them biocompatible. So the way our product works is quite simple. In case of a bone breakage, as you can see here, we plan on applying a liquid solution to the fractured area. This liquid has a special property. It is able to form a gel at 37 degrees Celsius, which is body temperature. Once the gel is formed, the multiple biopolymers will enhance bone regrowth while slowly degrading as the healing process advances. A cast would of course still be needed for added stability.
Okay, now you know the main concept of our product, and let me introduce you to some often risk factors. First of all, we can see over here sports and athletes. We know in sports usually like bump into each other, probably like sometimes you fall, you may cause a bone breakage. And in workplace accidents, when you work at constructing areas, maybe something fall on you. You may get a bone break. And then when age and medical conditions, when you grow old, when you are really old, your bones are weak, so it's easily to get broken. And then for the car accident, imagine you're just going to work one day and then suddenly there's a car that bumps into you. That's sad, right? And then, there's a need for faster bone healing. Due to many ways of bone breakage, since 1990, there's a 33.4% of new cases that have been occurred, and 178 million new cases in 2019 worldwide. And this is an increase of 70.1% of long-term symptoms since 1990, and a total of 25.8 million years of healthy life lost due to disability. Think of how many things we can done in those years. And so we are the one to solve the problem. Bone Gel is a professional medical company that's built on the idea of healing bones. And we are dedicated to help people worldwide. And in the future, we'll present more product that can solve problems. Now, let Milo introduce the components of our product.
So we divided our product into two parts. The first part is that the sodium alginate and the agarose powder, which speed up the healing speed by up to 51%. Yeah, and the agarose powder, well, it's a 3D structure so that the nutrition and the blood is able to pass through the bones so that it will make the procedure faster. And the second part is that the hydroxyapatite and the bioglass. The hydroxyapatite provides additional mechanical strength to the bones and our product so that it will support our body very, very well. And about the bioglass stimulates the bone growth, and also it will stimulate the generation of the hydroxyapatite. So thanks to the bioglass and the hydroxyapatite, so that our product is biodegradable, so that you don't have to worry that they're gonna harm yourself, because they will degrade generally, because they will break into the sodium ions and also the calcium ions in your body.
So our experiment is not too complicated. First of all, we prepared a gel, and then we added some of the components of our products, and then divided it into two solutions so that we could do two separate experiments. The first experiment involved the capability of the gel to form at 37 degrees Celsius, roughly body temperature, and the second experiment involved the formation of how long it would take for the gel to form under normal conditions. The gel, as you can tell, actually you can see in the video, while the gel clearly formed, and even when we put it upside down, the gel does not come out. Now, granted, this is a little bit below 37, but it did gel at 37 and a bit above. Now, the 0.1 gram sodium alginate gel took around 3 minutes to form a gel. Sodium alginate was one of the ingredients in the gel. This shows that the gel can form under normal conditions. Now, our competition involves mostly external implants that increase that hasten bone growth, as well as artificial bone implants. However, our product is better because there's no bulky external device. It is bioclean, it is cheap, and it has no significant side effects.
So as you can see, the American bone growth market is continuously growing, and is expected to reach $3.11 billion by 2032. So we plan on entering this market by first getting $500,000 from small business innovative research grants, which are free money, and this will allow us to start our research. Our product, thanks to the research conducted in the year one, will be credible enough for the investors to trust us, and we will seek $1.25 million from an angel investor in exchange for 15% of capital ownership. In year 3 to 5, we will start testing our products on animals, and on year 6, we will seek $20 million from corporate capitalists, which will allow us to get the networking of big companies, and in exchange for 50% of capital ownership. We will have to try clinical trials on humans. This will allow us on year 10 to get FDA approval, and we will start selling. We will aim to sell 40,000 products at a price of $99.99 to hospitals and health professionals. On the first year, we will, for the potential expansions, we can try to expand to dentistry usage by providing new solutions. We can expand to the muscle and ligaments reconstruction, which is also a huge problem in a lot of fields, among which sports industry. And finally, we can enter health cartilage healing, which has never been done yet.
Okay, questions from the audience.
Just to make sure, is this directly applied on the bone?
It is injected in the body.
So wouldn't there be a lot of blood if it's applied to the bone? Would blood affect the gel's concentration and maybe disrupt it from forming a gel or anything like that?
Well, it will be injected with a syringe similar to a vaccine, and then we plan to add a little less gel solution than the volume of the fracture that's needed to heal, to leave some space for the bone, for the blood vessels to grow again, if that was your question.
Okay, I have another question. So, you do ask for quite a lot of money, which is reasonable for medical product, right? It takes a lot of money to do clinical trials and things like that. But you are planning, so I think it was year 12 when you're planning to start selling it at $100, right, per product, and 40,000 products at $100. that's $4 million, right? And that does not include, that is assuming that it costed you $0 to produce your product, right? So how did you pick this price? Because it's quite lower than the price that other products cost, right? So maybe you can charge more in order to meet your investors.
So we calculated the average size of a bone fracture based on the average dimensions of a human body. And then we estimated that to produce 1 unit of gel, the materials would cost about $2. So just the raw materials. So we then decided that to be able to refund the price, the research price, and also including the shipment and labor cost, we thought of the price of $99.99, and we plan to sell more and more products to expand exponentially to be able to be profitable and refund the research costs in the near future.
So, do you guys have any idea how long this would last in the body before it is, cleaned and metabolized away? Could you have just one injection for a broken bone that would last until it was healed, or would you have to inject this multiple times?
So we showed in our slide that one of the biopolymers that are used in our gel, which is alginate, will speed up healing process by 51%. So if regular breakage will take 1 month to heal, with only alginate, without including hydroxyapatite and bioglass, it would take around 2 weeks. And so to know the exact time our gel will still be in the body and how much it will speed up the healing process, we would need to conduct tests with the other materials that we will reduce, but we expect it to maybe be around 1 week for it to heal.
So going back to your proof of concept experiment, so you said you had some components of your product in there, but which some of those components are they? So which ones are you missing? And how do you think those missing components might change what your proof of concept told you?
So we were only able to get alginate for the proof of concept experiment.
So we had alginate, but we didn't have bioglass as it is a rare material, and we didn't have hydroxyapatite and agarose gel because it required some materials that some of them were potentially dangerous and some of them were just not in the lab. And so we were only able to test sodium alginate, but the main goal of our experiment was just to see if the gel is able to form at 37 degrees and how long it takes. So test if the product is functional in the conditions of a human body.
So then if you did have those other components, how do you think they might have changed the outcomes of your experiment? Like which outcomes do you think they would change?
Hydroxyapatite, the chemical the chemical structure of hydroxyapatite is very similar to the one of the minerals in the bones. So it would add a lot of structural stability and mechanical strength to the gel, making it more compact and stabilizing in the fractured area. And it would also hydroxyapatite also has tissue regrowth abilities that would further increase the healing speed.
I had a question about you guys evaluating the size of the opportunity. So I hear that this is accelerating the healing process. So which means to me less doctor's appointment, follow-up appointments, etc. after a fracture. Did you guys evaluate the potential cost avoidance from the healthcare insurance sector?
We did not, but we should conduct some market analysis to see how much cost would be avoided with this product.
There are muscles around the bones, and even you are not using them, they actually have tensions in them. So when your bones break, there usually not in their original place, will be dragged by the tensions of a muscle, and they will like to go to the wrong place. And I mean, if your gel is not stiff but rather a soft gel, after a long curing time, the bone will grow not to its original shape, but becomes like a curve, and it may even breaks and cause second hurt. So, what's your idea about this?
Well, with with good medical practices and and maybe even a little bit of surgery, the bone could be readjusted into its place, and considering that the cast keeps the bone in place, it should be fine. In addition, the bone it helps it grow quicker, so any opportunities for it to further displace will be minimized.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. Last but not least, group 6. We are almost at food.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us as the last group of the day. We are Team Golden Sun, and today we are pitching our new product idea, Golden Glow Sunscreen, ready to revolutionize the industry of plasmonics.
Biocompatible, reef safe, human safe. Golden Glow Sunscreen, a novel mineral sunscreen with bio-derived gold nanoparticles. First, can I get a show of hands in the audience? Who here wears sunscreen? Every single person in the audience should be either raising their hands or nodding along right now, because the AMA, doctors, and dermatologists alike all recommend that everyone should be wearing sunscreen every single day. So let's talk about it. What is this sunscreen industry made up of? So there are two types of sunscreens on the market, chemical sunscreen and physical sunscreen. And physical sunscreen is also called mineral sunscreen. So chemical sunscreen contains chemicals such as oxybenzone, octinoxate, and avobenzone, whereas physical sunscreen contains chemicals such as titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. Chemical sunscreen is not reef or eco-friendly. And while we normally consider physical sunscreen to be a lot more reef and eco-friendly than chemical sunscreen, recent studies actually show that mineral sunscreens still aren't great for the environment. And this is super important because it's vital that we protect our coral reefs and marine ecosystems. Chemical sunscreen also absorbs the UV rays, whereas physical sunscreen deflects them. So what does Golden Glow sunscreen have to offer compared to chemical sunscreens, mineral sunscreens, and mineral sunscreens without nanoparticles? So even though Golden Glow sunscreen still has nanoparticles in our formula, our specifically engineered golden nanoparticles are actually very biocompatible, meaning they're not going to have any sort of negative effect on biological systems. On that note, Golden Glow sunscreen is also human safe because it will not penetrate the outer layer of your skin. Golden Glow sunscreen is also not going to leave behind that unwanted white cast that mineral sunscreens tend to leave on our skin. And Golden Glow sunscreen is also not impacted by legal restrictions and bans on chemical sunscreens in places like Mexico, Aruba, Hawaii, and more.
Okay, so now let's dive into the science behind how Golden Glow sunscreen works. So first, our sunscreen, it uses gold nanoparticles, and these nanoparticles can absorb and scatter UV light rays. Now you may be wondering how this actually works, and it's through a phenomenon known as surface plasmon resonance. And what this is it's when electromagnetic light waves, they hit the surface of a metal, and it causes oscillating electrons on the surface to absorb the light as well as reflect it. It's like a tuning fork. Like you have to match the frequency between the light wave and the electrons. Now for the second part of how our Golden Glow sunscreen works, we're going to be using an IV protein-based shell on top of the golden nanoparticle core. So what it does is it's more absorbing and reflective. It basically adds a boost to the already existing gold nanoparticle core. And both of these are biocompatible because natural ivy, it's naturally derived, and non-toxic gold, it's we synthesize it in a way that made it not too small but not too big. So yeah.
Okay, so our team recently conducted a validation experiment in which we synthesized gold nanoparticles using sodium citrate. We then used a TEM device to capture images of these gold nanoparticles and determine the exact diameter and size of these nanoparticles, which we will further experiment on in our research and developmental phase. In the final steps, we used a UV vis device to measure the wavelength absorbance, so how much of the UV spectrum our gold nanoparticles could absorb. And then finally, we will use this data in the future to conduct more experiments and develop our ideal product.
Sorry. So in step 3, like my colleague mentioned, we used spectroscopy in order to determine what specific wavelengths our gold nanoparticles were effective in absorbing. And what we found was that across our 4 trials, the gold nanoparticles were particularly effective in replacing traditional sunscreens because they absorbed UV wavelengths quite well. And so across the spectrum from 280 to 400 nanometers, our gold nanoparticles were able to absorb these wavelengths. But we also saw that they went even further and actually absorbed wavelengths up until 550 nanometers. Blue light, for example, is at this wavelength, and it can also be particularly damaging to skin. But looking more deeply at the particles themselves, in which we used microscopy, we were able to see that they fit the baseline of 15 nanometers in diameter established by recent scientific literature in terms of non-toxicity. And so because our particle size was greater than this diameter, we could be assured that they would not be able to penetrate the outer layer of skin. It would remain completely non-toxic for human use. In essence, our product can be summarized by 3 adjectives: efficient, eco-friendly, and scientific.
So there are actually existing solutions to all the issues we brought up that exist currently in the sunscreen market. But these solutions, they utilize non-nano minerals. These solutions do avoid skin penetration. However, they're very costly and they can bioaccumulate in the oceans, which can cause long-term damage. So these non-nano mineral sunscreens can range from about $1.67 per ounce to roughly $25 per ounce in price. And Golden Go sunscreen will reach the market at around $27 per ounce. While this is in like a higher price range, that's because our product uses quality, innovation, and new nanoscientific developments to create better and more effective solutions. And our product uses these biocompatible gold nanoparticles because they don't penetrate the skin's outermost layer because they're between 17 and 20 nanometers in diameter. And the sunscreen consistency remains consistent and not uncomfortable to the skin. And as stated earlier, these particles are biocompatible, so they do not adversely affect the environment. And in terms of expansion, in the future, we plan on making a spray or stick sunscreen, possibly expanding into SPF cosmetics, which are also very popular at the moment. And we would want to expand into protein and plant-based sunscreens. And our target market would primarily be people living in warmer, sunnier climates such as California. And we would target women and people who are familiar with or educated about the effects of sun exposure.
Okay, so here's our company timeline. In year 1, we will start introductory research on natural gold nanoparticle synthesis. In year 2, we will perform laboratory testings to create desired products, test our capping agents, and in year 3, we will start cruelty-free animal testing, early stage trials with the FDA, and continue testing our products. So our company is asking $1.6 million for the first 3 years of research and development. So for our IPs, we are planning to file a US and international utility patent and trademark our company and product name.
So our team is passionate, innovative, and committed, and we're looking for some of you investors to invest in our product and bring our vision to life. Thank you so much for listening. A special thanks to CNSI for making our research possible. And if you have any questions or want to reach out, please contact goldensunproducts@cnsi.org.
Okay, questions from the audience.
So you mentioned that your product was $27 per ounce. So why is it so expensive compared to other sunscreens?
Yeah, so the solution that we get our gold nanoparticles from involved in the synthesis process is quite expensive currently, but we do imagine expanding into other type of sunscreens, like we mentioned protein-based sunscreens. The IV nanoparticles, which are based on proteins that we use to synthesize our gold nanoparticles, are another option. And the one great benefit of this solution is that they are eco-friendly because they are naturally based and naturally derived.
Oh, you also stated that a target demographic were women. So why is
Yeah,
that?
that's because women make majority of like the household product purchases in many households across America, and sunscreen would be in that product range. So
Also, recently, there's been a big increase in like self-care is a trend, and a lot of more people now are paying attention to what they put on their skin, how they take care of it, and how they take care of themselves. And again, that also tends to be a lot of women, just in terms of how many people, you know, are buying stuff to put on their skin.
I wanted to ask how, and I don't know if you addressed this and I just missed it, but how are you actually going to take the nanoparticles and then incorporate it into your product? Like for your first product launch, like is it going to be a gel? Is it a cream? How would you stabilize it in that thing? And your per ounce cost, like in terms of applying it, like do you apply it the same like amount or way that you would a regular sunscreen? And do you know how many nanoparticles you would need to be able to do that?
So it's gonna be a normal sunscreen, but we just add gold nanoparticles with the IV as a substrate. So the IV is biocompatible and it just boosts the effects of the gold nanoparticle.
One thing I will add is that we consulted dozens of reviews and studies by leading scientists, and it is actually possible to create sunscreen with gold nanoparticles. It's been done in studies before, but it's never been taken to the commercial stage. So we do believe that this idea has a lot of potential. And in terms of the cost, we have to still figure out how many gold nanoparticles we are putting. Our cost is based on how many chemicals, like what quantities are put in other sunscreens currently. So that would be part of our research and development stage.
And in addition to the gold nanoparticles, our formula and other sunscreens on the market already have tons of additives in them that give different effects. So our sunscreen would also have most of those same additives.
I know you were just talking about the commercial stage. I was wondering what marketing would look like. What would you do to market your product?
So we would probably utilize, as I said before, like a lot of women are invested in making purchases for households. So possibly using social media marketing. We could expand upon that as we do more research and development, because for the first 3 years, we're going to focus on the experimental phase of our product. But after that, we will definitely push more of our efforts towards marketing and expansion of our products.
For your experiment, you did it on gold nanoparticles, but for your product itself, you will be using IV nanoparticles, right? So do you have any expected results from IV nanoparticles? Like where does it absorb?
Yeah, so what we consulted in terms of scientific literature that allowed us to develop this idea of using IV is because, like some other plants, it can be used as a substrate in terms of the synthesis of the gold nanoparticles. So that's why we get this sort of coating around the metal, is because it comes from using this IV. And we verified this through studies that it is possible.
Any last questions for our last group?
Back in the back.
Okay. I don't know if I can give a proper strong question, but um you talked about some about the market research, but my question to you is how many of your products would you need to sell to make even or make a revenue for the people that are gonna be investing on you? Because it is a business after all, and yes, you're targeting and messaging that it's bio-friendly, eco-friendly, and people are gonna want it because of that, but investors are more interested on the money. So how many, or if you have a guesstimate on how much do you need to sell to be able to tell them, hey, it's not just a fad, but also we're making money?
Yeah, so our price of $27 per ounce would place us at like the higher end of like the range for non-nano mineral sunscreens, which are like the solutions to a lot of the problems that we had listed earlier that exist with most chemical and physical sunscreens. So that price also takes into account that the people we're targeting likely are knowledgeable about these effects and would want to find a sunscreen that optimizes like all of the possible solutions. So hopefully we would capture most like majority of the market that's educated about these issues, and that would hopefully within like the next 5 years we could possibly break even and try to capture majority of that market.
And to be honest, we can't give an exact number of how many units we need to sell. That price of $27 per ounce, it will most likely fluctuate. That's just a very bare bones where we're at from here. But it'll take years and years of FDA trials and studies to actually see what our final price point is going to be. That's definitely not set in stone. It's definitely going to change. So it's actually hard to say in reality how much are we going to need to sell.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I just have some closing remarks. So I just wanted to thank all of the students today. Those were some amazing presentations. You guys worked really hard over the last 2 weeks, and we are so very proud of what you've produced. So thank you, guys. I'd also like to give a big thank you to our parents. We know that this program is not cheap, so thank you guys for investing. You maybe not be investing in some products today, but you are investing in your children, their education, and their future. So we want to thank you, parents, for all of your support. So lastly, this is also to the students. So, you know, you're our students for 2 weeks, but you're really our students forever, okay? And so we want to help you succeed. So we'd like you to stay in touch with us. Let us know what your future plans are: college, university, PhD, MD, starting a business. We have our CNSI Nanovation competition. Those open in December/January. And you guys all have all the really great skills that you need now to participate in this competition. We have additional CNSI summer sessions programs. So nanoscale microscopy, that is Nanoscience and our technology center. So all of our fancy microscopes that we have, you guys are in this applications of nanoscience. And then in the next coming weeks, we have our nanoscience lab courses, which are very focused on just more nanoscience experiments. Lastly, we write letters of recommendation. We've been taking notes all week with specific anecdotes about different qualities that you guys have demonstrated over the last 2 weeks, and we would be happy to write letters of recommendation either for college. I'm sorry, I cannot write you a letter of recommendation that will get you into UCLA. That is not how it works. The UC system actually in general doesn't accept letters of recommendation as part of the application, but we are happy to write you letters of recommendation for other universities that you may apply to, or other summer sessions programs, or anything like that. So please keep us in mind for letters of recommendation. And then I'd just like to take a moment for our students to do our last bullet point on the skills in life, which is reflection and introspection. So, you know, take a moment to reflect on what did you know about science and entrepreneurship before you started this course, and what did you learn over the last 2 weeks about science, about entrepreneurship, about working in a team, but also about yourself. Okay, so you all don't need to go on and be scientists. That's fine. We would love to have inspired that in you, but if you go on to do other things, we hope that the skills that you learned in this class will help you in those other endeavors as well. Okay, Dr. Rita Blake, do you have any last comments?
First, I just want to echo what Dr. Tanimoto already said, which is wonderful presentations, and also thank you parents for being participatory. You were a good group that asked a lot of questions this year, and we love that, so thank you. Well done. And there is one more person that I would like to add to the thanks, because it would be pretty awkward if she asked us to applaud her herself, which is
Jeb Bush, please clap moment.
Dr. Shailene Tanimoto, who was truly the director of the orchestra for these last 2 weeks and all the prep leading up to it. So Shailene, thank you so, so much, and let's all give her a hand as well.